The only thing that is between you and a party right now is 5 lightning talks. And so we're going to hear Pepe talk about KDE Toolbox, Benjamin about WebAssembly, and how to easily get your Qt application there. Shantanu is going to talk about large text in QML, so that must be like font size 200 or something. Julian is going to talk about shareable Dockers, and at the end, Joseph is going to talk about energy consumption and why that matters. But the first pep talk is going to be from Pepe. You're supposed to come in now. And music? No music, sorry, but let me just read up here from the agenda, just in case you forgot what you're going to talk about. It says blah 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 KDE Toolbox, and then it ends with, I'm going to present as many tools from the KDE Toolbox as I can before getting kicked off stage. Challenge accepted.
Thank you. Start the clock. Okay, thank you very much for being here. This is a very short spam, or should I say ad? Well, it's open source, so it's not spam, for KDE Toolbox. What is KDE Toolbox? It's GitHub's collection of miscellaneous, useful C++ classes and stuff. Okay, so it's, of course, a GitHub repository where we dump stuff that we think it's useful. Most of the times, stuff that we start developing maybe for a customer project, then we realize, wait a minute, I'm going to need that in every other customer project I've used. So yeah, we take it and we dump it on GitHub. Jesper tells me that I should not use the word dump, so we carefully package it and publish on GitHub after under very permissive licenses. All right, so what is this? Well, if you Google KDE Toolbox, the first thing that you're going to get is something about QD Toolbox, because we apparently are very bad at naming. Google will suggest, can you fix the name? And you insist, no, it's KDE Toolbox. And we land on this page where there is a nice listing of all the things that we published in there. There is stuff about C++, there is stuff about Qt, there is other code snippets. So if I had 1 minute to present each one of these, it's going to take probably 45 minutes, and then I will get kicked out of the stage. And several of this stuff is also very specific about command line stuff or C++ stuff, so it's not something I can demo easily. I'm going to just start randomly and showcase a couple of things that I like that are available inside KDE Toolbox. So thing number one that I somehow like or not like is a signal throttler for Qt. What is a signal throttler for Qt? Well, sometimes you may have the need that you have a signal, it's incoming at a given frequency, and that frequency is simply too high, and you want to throttle it down. How many times have you written such code that throttles down events or signals, stuff like that? Raise your hand if you have done so. Yeah, a few people. There we go. So now you can stop. You can just reuse this thing. So for instance, I want to throttle my incoming signal at 500 milliseconds at the most. If I try to click as much as possible, you see that this thing is emitting a signal only after that. You can also debounce signals. What's a debounce signal? It's a signal that gets emitted only after you stop. So you can press as much as you want. This won't emit anything. Once you stop, then you get the signal notification. Think about a search box that while you're typing, it should not start the search immediately. After you stop typing, it should go. Okay, thing number one. How much time I got left? Okay, just kidding. Thing number two, model view stuff. Raise your hand if you're kind of disappointed about the fact that when you do Qt Quick, pretty much up until 5.15, you only had list views. Only recently we got something more sophisticated like table views or tree views. But once we had list views, most of the time I found myself in the situation where I had a table model and I had to like shoehorn it into a list view by mapping columns to individual rows. Yeah, I've written that proxy model several times until I realized, okay, let me write it just once and put it centrally. So there is a little class inside the KDE Toolbox. It's called the KDE Table List Proxy Model. And Jesper, what do proxy models do?
They crash.
Yeah, not this one. Not this one, okay? This one lets you take a table model and remap it into a list model so that you can feed it inside something like a Qt Quick list view. All right, I'm not going showing any code right now because I've got like 2 minutes left, but that's yet another little thing that is in there. Other smaller things, tab window. Okay, sometimes you may need something like a little tab-based interface that on which you can detach the individual tabs. So you got something like this, and maybe you want to allow people to detach a tab into its own window, and you can do exactly that. And then you can reattach your tab over there. Okay, again, useful code if you need something like this. We also have a more general purpose solution in the form of KDE widgets, but if all you need is a tab widget, then there is that as well. How much time I got left? More time? Okay, more C++ or general purpose stuff. Qt is transitioning from QMake to CMake. Well, if there is one thing I'm missing somehow from QMake world is the fact that you could type inside a shell QMake-project, okay, and whatever C++ files you had in the directory, whatever header files, whatever resource files, etc., would naturally be added into a predefined project file, and then you can open that within Creator and start running. Well, we have a solution for that as well. There is a little, where is it? I don't know. It's somewhere in there. A little tool, which is called CMake project, that allows you to give them some files in some directory. You just run this thing, and you end up with a nice CMake list.txt that now you can open inside your favorite IDE. And yeah, this has usual suspects, so again, you can read it. It's using everything modern, like libraries, Target 5, Qt5 Core, Qt5 GUI. It supports Qt5, Qt6, and also, nicely, it supports no Qt at all, because sometimes you just have a few files that you want to compile together. You want to quick start a project with CMake, and that's a nice thing to have. Oh boy, I didn't plan to go so far, so what else can we show? Well, even more Qt-ish stuff, I guess. So give me a second, I will show this one right here. Another example comes from a lot of our customers that are doing embedded coding, and sometimes they want to detect whether their UI is freezing. Sometimes it's just a mistake, sometimes it's hardly to reproduce. So how do you even detect that the UI thread has frozen and so the UI is not reacting? Probably you can write some code for that, but don't do it any longer. We have a little example for this inside KDE Toolbox. There is a header-only library called UI Watchdog, whose purpose is to detect that your UI is frozen. So you just add this header into your code. You add one line of code inside your main, and now the watchdog is running. And you can do something like block your UI from time to time, and this thing will dump into the console that the UI is being blocked. Or, of course, you can just go into the header, put a breakpoint there, start your debugger, crash, log it, etc. It's a one-line solution for all your needs. And now I can actually show this code because it's really just adding this line of code inside your main. And now you got a way to detect whether your UI is freezing. Yes, but my time's up.
No?
No? Okay, then.
I'm going to let you go on for
45 minutes until I do every one of these ones. All right. And then something that I made quite recently, more C++ and other similar stuff. Actually, let me go on GitHub because I got a nice example over there. A lot of people complain that the Qt containers and the C++ containers don't really interact with each other. And so sometimes you have the need to transmute one container into another, and you want to do it in one line of code. Well, inside KDE Toolbox, there is this little KDE2 container function that lets you take a container of any sorts, pipe KDE2 container, another container, and now you can transmute containers with one line of code. This is a complete generalization of whatever abomination was in Qt 5. Oh, hello. So it's time for getting me a kick out of stage?
It's okay.
All right. Come closer. Closer.
Oh.
Too close. Okay, well, to conclude, I don't want to go through each and every example in there. We at GitHub stumble upon the same problems that you as Qt developers stumble every single day. But once we find that, okay, that's the second time we're doing this is the third time we're doing this, let's us put this code somewhere useful, that is in an open source library on GitHub. Thank you for your time. Check it out, again, and just Google it. Thanks for not kicking me out of the stage.